Hello everybody, welcome to the show. Ross Madden here with the Truth of Think Tank. Today we are going over an interview that Robert David Steele did on Fulcrum News with David Seaman, and it's really a shocking interview because Robert David Steele comes right out and shows you who he is. He is ex-CIA. He works closely with Ben Fulford, who may also be ex-CIA. And I actually am going to make the case for why I think he is still CIA based on this interview. And you can let me know what you think in the comments below. But Robert David Steele is very skilled in deception, and so we're going to go through bit by bit and just break down this interview and talk about what Robert David Steele is really putting in front of Seaman's audience. Let's go ahead and give it a look.
That's on my radar. Now, here's what else is on my radar. The denuclearization of Israel. Not only did Benjamin Fulford publish that from Pentagon sources, saying that after the Koreas, they're shifting over to the Middle East. And there is going to be a comprehensive Middle East peace settlement, and it is going to include the denuclearization of Israel, not just Iran.
He slips in what he really wants, which is not just Iran. Did you hear that? I'm going to back it up.
Not only did Benjamin Fulford publish that from Pentagon sources, saying that after the Koreas, they're shifting over to the Middle East. And there is going to be a comprehensive Middle East peace settlement, and it is going to include the denuclearization of Israel, not just Iran. Hallelujah, praise God.
So Robert David Steele offers you the carrot of denuclearize Israel. Everyone wants that. Israel has been absolutely reckless in the Middle East, and they have a bunch of nukes, and so we need to really consider what they are capable of. Their pattern has not been peace in the Middle East. So
how will they pull that one off? Because we all know that
Israel
has its strings in the pedo deep state and all that. So how's that going to be pulled off?
Well, now, first off, Israel's nuclear program is 10 to 100 times worse, bigger, more dangerous than Iran's. It's also funded by the U.S. taxpayer. All Trump has to do is tell Israel, you're cut off. There will be zero money, zero technology, zero military assistance, zero intelligence sharing. You're cut off.
That's as easy as it gets? I don't think so. I think that we're really going to have a struggle to get Israel to release their nukes. And even if they said, oh yeah, we released our nukes, I'm pretty sure the CIA would just say, yeah, they did it, and we would just end up with a nuclearized Israel, and they'd go back to lying to us the whole time.
We know how to do it. We know where it is. We know everything we need to know about the Israeli nuclear program. What we don't know is whether they actually have nuclear suitcases in various Western cities. That's part of their so-called Samson Option. Seymour Hersh wrote a great book on the Samson Option.
We don't know if they have nuclear suitcases in various Western cities. That was what Robert David Steele just said. That is a very threatening, very fear-mongering statement to say. So he is really pushing the fear of Israel so that you are completely just ignoring what he just said about Iran. Iran has no nukes. Neocons want to denuclearize Iran. That is just code for regime change in Iran. So Robert David Steele is setting up himself to be a CIA neocon, just like Q, just like, all the other neocons, John Bolton and Rudolph Giuliani in Trump's cabinet. The CIA and the DNI have zero evidence of Iran having a nuclear weapon. So the fact that Robert David Steele just wants to suggest that we'll denuclearize Iran along with Israel, which will never happen, and he has no evidence of that ever being on the table. He's just saying that because Ben Fulford said that, and because he wants your attention. He wants you to believe him and you to listen to what he's saying. Because that's something that everybody wants. Everyone wants a denuclearized Israel. So this is what we call hopium. When somebody, because you have no control over this. This is not an actionable subject. You will just hope that Israel gets denuclearized. How are you going to do anything? You can't. And you're just going to trust the plan. This goes right along with what Q is telling us to do. The 20,000 arrests, you have no control over that. You're just trusting the plan, trusting that that's about to happen. So let's go ahead and talk about the Samson option. The Samson option, we're going to let it run one more time.
Off. We know how to do it. We know where it is. We know everything we need to know about the Israeli nuclear program. What we don't know is whether they actually have nuclear suitcases in various Western cities. That's part of their so-called Samson options.
While that is terrifying, I think that's something that should be considered because, I mean, if a nuclear weapon goes off, we shouldn't jump right to, it was Iran when they don't have any nuclear weapons and Israel has a whole bunch of them. So Samson is a famous passage out of the Bible where Samson is this king of Israel that is in big trouble with the Philistines, I believe, and because he's killed a bunch of them, he's burned their fields, and they're coming to judge him and probably kill him. Well, he goes to this temple, and all of the Philistine leaders are in the temple with him, and he grabs 2 giant pillars and just says, whatever, if you guys are going to kill me, we're all going down together. And he takes the pillars out, the whole temple collapses, and everyone dies. So that's the Samson option. That's the nuclear suitcases in multiple cities option. And that's a really, that's a terrifying thought. Let's jump ahead to something else that he said that got my attention.
My review of that book summarizes the 5 thefts and 4 lies that went into Israel taking Palestine away from the Palestinians. So I actually see, just as in the United States, the Native Americans are starting to get more justice and some things are starting to turn around, I believe ultimately Palestine will be restored to the Palestinians. And I had no idea.
Palestine will be restored to the Palestinians. So there's some more hopium for you, because that's something, once again, you're going to have no control of. I mean, but what is Israel? Is that the pattern? Is Israel restoring the Palestinian land to the Palestinians? Not really. But listen to this. This is what he says is the reason why Palestine would get their land back.
I believe ultimately Palestine will be restored to the Palestinians. And I had no idea, but there's a Jewish autonomous region in Russia, an entire province called the Jewish Autonomous Region. It's right next to Manchuria, where the Chinese have created the makings for a Jewish autonomous region. And
so basically we've got Israel 2.0. Israel's sick of being Israel, and so now they're moving to Russia/Manchuria or China. This is a problem. Israel having a Jewish state is a big problem because when you are violent in the Middle East, you hide behind the fact that you're Jewish. And anyone who criticizes the fact that these weapons, these airstrikes are illegal, and these airstrikes are unethical, and they're killing hundreds of thousands of people, well, you just call them an anti-Semite, and then it's all okay. I don't think that that's an acceptable response towards people criticizing Middle Eastern wars. When you have a foreign policy that's overly militant, it's not surprising when people criticize you. And so now that the UN is criticizing Israel, are we really surprised that the United States is backing out of the UN Human Rights Council? I'm not surprised. We're going to defend Israel until we can no longer do it, because I really think that that day is coming. Israel is a sinking ship. They're being outed as violent militants. They're behind many of the wars in the Middle East, and people are finding out about this. The entire world is finding out about this. Russia's known about this for a long time. That's why they stepped in to defend Syria, because they were sick of Israel just ruling over the Middle East. That's not an acceptable Middle Eastern policy, foreign policy for Israel. Let's continue with this interview.
And they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars building new railroad bridges and roads that will connect the Russian and the Chinese Jewish autonomous regions.
Your thoughts on the fact that it seems like the DOJ and the FBI are against the president. It seems like you have the president calling out the fact on Twitter yesterday, or the day before, that he wishes he had not picked Jeff Sessions, that he wishes he had picked somebody else to be Attorney General. And you see Chaffetz, a member of the party, right, a member of the Republican Party. You see Chaffetz saying recently, I think just earlier today, Fox News had a tweet about it, Sessions is worthless, right? Quote, worthless. So the Republicans are throwing this Attorney General under the bus. What do you think is really happening behind the scenes, Robert?
Well,
let's find out what Robert David Steele thinks about Jeff Sessions. Remember that Q has been saying, trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Horowitz, because he thinks that these arrests are coming. Well, we'll see.
What has really happened is that, first off, Jefferson Sessions was the first.
I want to call it right there. Jefferson Sessions he's Jeff Sessions. Everyone knows him as Jeff Sessions. And Robert David Steele is using this diversion for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I just want to point it out. And let me know in the comments below if you have an idea why he's calling him Jefferson Sessions instead of Jeff Sessions.
To support our president. He was a well, what has really happened is that, first off, Jefferson Sessions was the first to support our president. He was a turning point in having people understand. My own article, How Trump Can Win, published in Counterpunch in August 2015, dates back to that era. You have to give Jefferson Sessions credit for being the one man that stood tall in the early days and said Donald Trump can win and should be our president.
So he comes right out and defends Jeff Sessions. Everyone knows that Jeff Sessions is defending the swamp. Everyone knows that Jeff Sessions should step down, should have fired Rosenstein a long time ago, shouldn't have recused himself, should have prosecuted Hillary Clinton, should have gone after James Comey for covering up all of her crimes and her illegal deleting of the 30,000 emails. So, I mean, there's subpoenaed emails. A normal person goes to jail for not replying to a subpoena. So why is Hillary Clinton not even being investigated for what was in those 30,000 emails? It's a big deal, and they have those emails. We know they have those emails. The NSA has those emails. AT&T has those emails. There are multiple organizations that have those emails. Even her staff has the other end of those emails. Huma Abedin has a bunch of those emails. Why are all of Huma Abedin's computers not being confiscated? And the answer is because we don't have a second special counsel. We really need a second special counsel. Hashtag second special counsel. If you believe that we need a second special counsel, like we can raid the same way that Mueller has been raiding Manafort's, laundry room or whatever. We should be raiding Comey's offices. We should be raiding Comey's wife's phone. We should just be collecting all of these devices, anything that might have touched their Gmail accounts where they were sending FBI information over Gmail. We should have all of the devices that may have touched those accounts. There are many, many ways we could get to those emails, and the fact that we're just ignoring Hillary Clinton's emails, and we have many of them thanks to Judicial Watch, and we can look at them and they show pay to play, it's racketeering. They're just using the United States government and the United States taxpayer to fund their own projects and do illegal things all over the world. So let's get back to this. Robert David Steele does a really good job of saying, hey, look at the birdie, while he slips in information that he doesn't want people to necessarily pay attention to, but he wants their subconscious to hear. He wants you to hear and he wants you to absorb, but he'll distract you with things that you want to hear. And it works on David Seaman because, David Seaman just gets caught up in these sorts of things. His brain isn't focused on, it's not laser focused on exposing the deep state, which it really should have been during this interview. And he lets Robert David Steele get away with a lot of deception because he's not focused.
what the president wanted and expected from the attorney general, as he wants and expects from every cabinet member, is one guy at the top he can absolutely trust to police his own house. And that's the one thing that Jefferson Sessions chose not to do.
Oh, that's it. That's the only thing that Jefferson Sessions didn't do. That's it. And it hasn't been like 2 years since of him not doing it.
So yes, he let the president down in that regard.
He's letting the entire country down. The entire country is in turmoil as long as Jefferson Sessions is in office. He needs to step down. Step down, Sessions.
He's also wrong in marijuana. Marijuana should be legalized, and hemp should be legalized in every starting point for the millennials.
Well, it's funny you brought that point up, because the only storm I see here in D.C. right now, for months, the truth community, led by that poster QAnon, they've been awaiting the storm like the second coming of Jesus, and the only storm that I see so far in the nation's capital is, literally a vaporizer called the Storm. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, the fact that it's been legal here for 3 years in the nation's capital tells.
So now we're talking about marijuana. We went right from, hey, what's up with Jeff Sessions? What's going on with Jefferson over here? And now we're right to marijuana. This is what I mean. Laser focus. You just got distracted. This is a big question. Why do you trust Jeff Sessions? Now you're about to get fooled on the 20,000 sealed indictments because you didn't ask a single question, David.
Could legalization work nationwide? Not only could it should. It's not fair to have it just here in wealthy areas like Aspen and Denver, and not in other parts of the country, let them die of cancer. It's just not fair. We're all Americans,
right, David. But let me say a couple of things. I don't know if you noticed, but I was deeply honored to speak.
One thing David does do is he does return back to the subject of who is really in charge, who's behind this deep state that we keep hearing about. And
Bushes
this
and
is
whoever
the answer.
else, the Bushes and the Clintons, they're all the servants. We think of them as being at the top. So when you say they're servant families, who is actually at the head of this snake specifically? Who are the families or organizations doing all the string pulling?
There are a number of really excellent graphics that are starting to circulate. At the very, very top are essentially the descendants of Caesar, the Vatican, the Rothschilds, and the Chabad supremacist cult, which, by the way, thinks that all other Jews are less than human.
Wow.
Okay, we already.
So he names a couple buzzwords, Chabad, Rothschilds, and then goes to a supremacist mindset to make you hate whoever this is, the Zionists, the Rothschilds. So he names the buzzwords and immediately plays on your emotions of hatred, but that's really all he does. He doesn't give you any information.
We know they think that Christians and Muslims are less than human, but most people don't realize that even within the Jewish faith, there is a supremacist cult that believes that all lesser Jews, for example, Benjamin Netanyahu has told the 9 million American progressive and reform Jews they can piss off. They're like shiksas. They don't count. They don't get access to the Wailing Wall because they're not real Jews. They're subhuman, lesser Jews. I thought you were upset because Trump has not unsealed the 20,000 sealed indictments.
David Seaman is upset because Trump hasn't unsealed the 20,000 sealed indictments. And also, David is upset because Q keeps talking about how these 20,000 sealed indictments are the 20,000 deep staters that have been walking around free for the last 2 years. And why are they free if they're supposed to be indicted? Well, David doesn't even really bother to ask a single question about it.
I thought you were upset because Trump has not unsealed the 20,000 sealed indictments. So let me say something about that. Those 20,000 sealed indictments, in my view, are meant to lock down 90% of the deep state.
Lock him down.
He's got the deep state on the run. And the deal that I believe exists with the 90% of the deep state that is under a sealed indictment is you shut up and stay out of my way and I will not send you to Guantanamo. So my understanding, talking to Ben Fulford, talking to some people in London, is that the Rothschilds and the Vatican have accepted an exit strategy, and the last holdouts are the Chabad Zionist Jews, the supremacist cult. I don't know myself. This is all intuitive, from all these sources that I pieced together, connecting the dots.
Robert David Steele just justified moving the embassy into Jerusalem, and that, while I think that was a largely diplomatic move, a lot of people from Israel seem to think that that was a big deal towards getting the Temple on the Mount to actually be under Jewish control. So this is really contradictory what Robert David Steele is saying about them, backing out of Israel. Meanwhile, they're getting the embassy in Israel. Let's jump ahead to something that Robert David Steele tries to convince David Seaman to do that I think would be a big waste of time and money for David, and he should just probably take this as a warning that, this guy might not be the most trustworthy person, although it is his opinion and he is following his own advice, so we'll go ahead and give it a listen.
Lawsuit against these guys, and I won't talk about lawsuits other than to say I think guys like you should be suing the crap out of YouTube.
Yeah,
and I'm talking millions of dollars.
Yeah, and it's not just me. So I have a media startup, and
he wants him to sue YouTube. He wants him to, try and collect the potential millions of dollars that he thinks David's entitled to.
Those kinds of actions drag us down. We had to announce just a couple of days ago the end of our paid contributor program. So some great people that were being paid by us every month to write articles and to do the research for us, we can't pay them anymore. So there's been a real impact from all this censorship and all this gang stalking. And, legally, I'm open to all options. I don't think that
let me say, you mentioned gang stalking, David. Let me say that once you enter into gang stalking and conspiracy, because I have my own case that I'm not going to discuss, but I've learned a lot in the last year. Once you enter into a conspiracy and you can show that, for example, if you do discovery and you find that the Anti-Defamation League is picking on you at the same time that they're allowing certain others to have unbridled liberties that are in contrast, that leads to triple damages. So you can sue YouTube and win from a jury. Triple damages.
Wow.
Oh yeah, look, my adventure started last June. You're at the very beginning of something that's similar. And I will just tell you that I have learned to really respect the federal judicial system. When you have the right lawyer, you can, in fact, get justice within the federal justice system.
When you have the right lawyer, so he's saying lawyer up and go ahead and start suing. I think this would be a big mistake. David Seaman makes very controversial videos. I don't have a problem with his Pizzagate videos. I like them. I'm glad that he goes on WikiLeaks and actually types in the search terms and then shows you exactly how he's getting to his beliefs. I think that's valid reporting. But when you agree to be a YouTube partner, you sign or click some legal agreement that basically says you're handing over legal control and ownership to YouTube of your videos, at least the ones that are on YouTube. And now you can keep your own copy, but they own the one that you're handing to them. So if they want to pull it off because you violated their terms of service, they're more than legally welcome to do so. And David can't really argue that it's because he is a conservative that they're pulling it off, because it's blatantly, he makes really controversial videos. He makes Pizzagate videos, so it's not because he's a conservative, it's because he makes videos calling people pedophiles, which there's nothing wrong with that if it's the case. And I tend to, kind of agree with him. John Podesta probably is a pedophile. Well, that does not mean that David Seaman has the right to sue anyone that wants to pull that accusation off of YouTube. That kind of makes sense for YouTube.
Yeah, that's what it appears. And I'm just starting that process. But so people can see, this is the URL, this is the website address for our YouTube channel that last year received more than 11 million views. It was a big part of our business. It sent a lot of traffic to the Fulcrum website. And now this is all people see. The 505 videos that we had uploaded have been wiped. Many of them we had no backup for because they don't let you download a backup. If it's a live stream, they don't let you download a backup. So they screwed us financially, reputationally, and in the United States of America, aside from BitChute, God bless BitChute, aside from them and things like DTube, as a well-known broadcast journalist, I have not had a voice in the United States of America for the last 3 months. And there's something wrong with that, right? I'm not trying to cast myself as
no. Listen, David, you've got a great case. In my humble opinion, you will win millions of dollars from YouTube.
In stark contrast, Robert David Steele also thinks this about the legal system.
Not to get into legal stuff, but if I do choose to go up against Google, does it come down to some judge is a 33rd degree Mason and goes, no, they're good, we're not going to let the journalists win?
That's a very intelligent observation because the legal system is rigged, and I'll give a shout out to Matt Tabi in his book.
The legal system's rigged. Oh, but you can go ahead and get a nice lawyer and he'll go ahead and set things straight with YouTube because YouTube's not going to control the court system at all. Google's not in charge of things. You are, David. Go ahead and buy a lawyer. It's a big money hole for you, bud. The last thing that I want to cover is Robert David Steele says David should not question Jordan Sather and shouldn't hold a grudge against him because he's suggesting regime change in Iran, which I debunked Jordan Sather and QAnon in a video last month. Jordan Sather and Q debunked, and they basically are Israeli propaganda, and I show you why anyone supporting Q is supporting an Israeli propaganda narrative. And so the fact that he's still doing it after a month, after many people have produced videos and Q has been debunked multiple times on multiple channels, it really shows you that he's propaganda. He's pushing this narrative. This isn't coming from him. There are ulterior motives at play.
What I think has changed, David, is that guys like you and me are coming together with Mike Adams of Natural News and Jordan Sather. And there are arguments among all of us truthers.
Well, not so much him, but I have nothing against the Natural News guy or.
No, but David, I want you to put to rest the frictions. Remember, it's the 99% against the 1%. As long as you allow yourself to be divided and conquered, it's going to be harder for you to win.
So basically he's saying that as long as we have all of us together, it doesn't matter who's with us. In reality, the mindset, the ideology of conservatism, small government, no warfare, balanced budgets, that is rare in America. That's a rare ideology. It's called conservative. And it's not that not many people have it. I think a majority of our country has a conservative mindset internally, but we have this left-right paradigm that everyone's trying to erase. Robert David Steele doesn't want David to be critical of Jordan, doesn't want him to be critical of Q or anyone who's talking about the 20,000 arrests. This is something that David Seaman has been critical of for a long time, and I'm curious if you ask him a question about it.
So what I'm saying to you is I think that we're now past the point where a judge can rig the system. We are going to take down YouTube and Google and Facebook and Twitter and Amazon and Wikipedia and Meetup.
Amen.
Okay? They are all going to pay millions and millions and millions of dollars because I am going to personally do my very best to inspire with a legal summit 10,000 lawsuits.
So right there, thumbs up. Let's see what David says.
I mean, that's what we got to do is
gets completely distracted, no focus. So right there, we don't trust Jordan Sather. Why are you just going to say trust this guy who's been telling us regime change in Iran? That might be the right thing to do. Are you kidding me? That's going to cause a civil war in a perfectly sane country. They elected their leaders fair and square just like we did. You can't just overthrow leaders because you want to willy-nilly. That's going to be all that we're going to cover. I just wanted to end with that last piece of hopium that Robert David Steele gives you. I hope you picked up the pattern. Robert David Steele will offer you hopium. He'll mention something, but then he'll have you watch something else. Like, watch this Israel denuclearization. Oh, by the way, we're also going to denuclearize Iran. That's just, we're not going to denuclearize Iran because they don't have nuclear weapons and he has no evidence to support that they do. The fact that he's bringing it up is a problem. He should be questioned on it. And I would love another interview where Robert David Steele actually answers some questions about his neocon agenda that he's pushing for the CIA, in my opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's all that we're doing today. This is Ross Madden with the Truth of Think Tank. Have a great day, everybody.